So, shall we start?
Yes.
Please.
So today we have got
introduce
all Sierra Leoneans.
all Sierra Leoneans.
Yes, all
mashallah.
Sierra Leoneans. Yes.
Some new faces
Some
as
new
well.
faces. Yes, that's right.
Almost all of them new, huh?
Except perhaps
Dawda Sharif.
Dawda Sharif
That's
he has been coming. Yes.
I'm not new as well.
Yeah.
So, will you kindly
Yes.
introduce them briefly?
Well, Hazur, on my right side, first is Mr. Dellertson Kalon from this famous family of Kalon.
Of course, the same family.
Yes.
Yeah. And next is
Colony is a very big.
It's a very
family.
big family,
Like a
yes.
tribe, you
Lots
know.
of,
But there's some the Ahmadi boys who have been studying here,
Yes.
the university. Kahlon, 2 boys.
That's the
that's
brother.
Yes.
one of
You're
them.
one of you.
Yes, my brother.
That's
Tommy.
your brother.
Yes,
He's
yes.
very active and very forward.
He is, yes.
Yes. And yet you have not taken your cue from him.
I'm trying that.
Okay. Please, next.
next is Mr. Ali Kalon.
The same family?
It's
No.
a big family, but
Yeah,
we're not that closely related. No.
Next is Mr. Muhammad Tankura.
Sadiq
Muhammad Siddiq Tunkura. Yes, that's right.
Tunkura?
Tunkara.
Tunkara. Yes.
Yes.
He was previously in Moscow, and 6 months ago he has come here.
You were a student there
Yes, I was.
in Moscow?
Yes.
Right. How long have you been there?
Since 86,
Right.
I was there.
I think it was continuation of the old policy for a while that they invited students from Africa. No longer so. They have stopped
Yes,
that.
they have stopped giving scholarships now.
Yes.
After 1990.
That's fine.
After the fall of communism.
That's fine.
Yes.
Next is Mr. Thomas Ali, and next is Mrs. Dawda Sharif and Dawda Sharif.
That's right.
Please start.
So shall we
Yes.
start straight away?
Yes.
Huzur, my question is about the unfortunate situation in Sierra Leone. Does the Western world, do you think, and the developed countries owe an obligation to help and to interfere at times like this, even though it's an internal matter?
You see, the developed countries are not interested in things as such. They're interested only in things in relation to how much benefit they can do to them or how much damage they can do to them. The rest is just doesn't exist, So in this respect, they will take interest, and they do take interest, but to what effect? That is the question. A far more important question than they should have been asked, that what can we do to change ourselves? Because Allah Ta'ala in the Holy Quran warns us that Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma bi qawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah does not change the state of a people who do not change the state themselves. That is, who do not intend to change. So if the fault lies within, then for the influence of the foreign countries is not much sought for. In fact, it could go against you. It all depends on their interest, not on your interest. And what is happening is already happening because of some foreign countries' influence in your affairs. Why have you forgotten that? Israel, when it was told off from the contract, giving them full monopoly and command over the diamond producing areas, and also handing them over the charge of the borders and tariffs, etc. That was the most suicidal mistake that was ever committed by the government of Sierra Leone. And then at the common protest of the people against it, suddenly, without going to the justification of that cancellation of that contract, they just tore it away and said, run away, go back. So all that happened afterwards was an aftermath of that. And Israel, is very vindictive. They will never let things go without punishment. So what happened from the side of Liberia and others adjacent countries, was, I feel, was a calculated move. And then to buy traitors from within a country which is poor is not at all difficult. It's so easy, it's only a question of how much money you have to spend. And when you earn money through robbing, money is no concern if you go on buying the people, and more money will flow because of their changing sides with you, through robbery, through corruption, through this and that. Then it's anybody's game. So this is exactly what's happening to Africa. You are divided into north and south on the one hand, and between the military and non-military on the other, between this tribe and that tribe, and the so-called robbers are a completely undefinable mass of senseless people, absolutely, totally, selfish and totally callous. What they have been encouraged by many outsiders, but far more than that, insiders as well, to loot, to destroy, to rob, run away, and enjoy themselves. And nobody knows now whether it is the army who is doing it or the opposition to the army, because it has become practically a free-for-all. So Sierra Leone, a country which was gifted with the very best things the governments and the states seek, has already destroyed itself through their own internal corruption and disorder. So why don't you turn to that? It is that where the fault lies. If a people are united and healthy, no foreign vultures can ever come and sit. They wait until the internal disorder has rendered a people incapable of defending themselves. Then they come and enjoy the feast. So now you are inviting feast from all sides. It's not just the white vultures, the black vultures, and colored vultures of all sorts, in all the colors as they make. They come and they are enjoying the feast. Most tragic things are happening. Unbelievable. We have been trying, of course, without losing heart, without losing faith, at every level. European level, British level, this level, that level. And we have found some friends who we know have good intentions, although they also represent British political unit, engine. But they are people and people different from each other. Some are very honest and they never bargain on principles. So with the grace of Allah, some of them who are particularly appointed by the British to go into the Sierra Leone affairs and report and advise them as to what best policy should be made, they are in touch with us and we are in touch with them. But only recently, I think it was yesterday, I received a very detailed report from some of our friends telling us of the intricacies of the problem. What happened during the elections, what happened afterwards, and what are the difficulties in implementing the results of this election. And even though these governments which are involved are involved not only singly but with the consensus of other European community as well. So they have quite enough strength to implement what they like. But if internally people are twisted and disordered and divided, then the foreign might cannot correct the things. So if Allah would not interfere, where people have decided not to change, how can an outside people here on earth can effectively interfere? Right? Okay. Please.
Yeah. Azul, historically, how can he prove that Jesus Christ, son of Mary, went to India? What was his teachings in India? and what was his route to India?
You see, first of all, talking of history, let's start with the claimants first. We have come much later in time. The Christians believe that he ascended to heaven, and the very top of the heaven, wherever it is. What historical proof do they have for that? Jesus ascended all the way to heaven to sit on the right side of God, and which is the right side of God? Which way was he facing at that time? This side, that side, right and left is only relative. So one has to conceive God to be limited in body, and the right side is that, if it is not metaphorical, I mean. But they are not talking of metaphors now. They are not talking of figure of speech. They are talking of literally ascent of Jesus Christ and occupying a seat right of God. So, where is the historical proof? If you can believe in that with the meagerest of just reference of some people who say, then he ascended, and later on their own scholars tell us that this portion, those verses in which it was mentioned, they were all fake. In the original Bible they were not found. So the most meager proof, the flimsiest proof that they could present has also been wiped out by their own hands. And they ask of proof of Jesus, historical proof of Jesus' journey into Kashmir. Okay, if he was never journeyed to Kashmir, let's find his whereabouts first. Where did he go? You see, if you want to do some detective work, you must do it in an orderly manner. I hope all of you have read some of Sherlock Holmes, so you should try to act Sherlock Holmes here in this case. Find out, so when you inquire about somebody's disappearance, disappear he did, no doubt. Whether he disappeared into heaven, into space, or disappeared somewhere here on this planet Earth. So we must find clues and gather the clues, and then in the light of those clues we will be justified to declare a finding based on some evidence. Otherwise, no. The first clue I would suggest should lie in his statement, his statement itself. The person who commits suicide, he writes a suicidal note behind. The person who leaves a place, did he leave anything behind which could be helpful in tracing him to the place where he went? Now, there is just such a clue left by Jesus Christ before crucifixion. He said that he would leave the people of his own people and go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Go in search of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. What a strong clue it is, isn't it? Now, you must understand what he meant, what he could have meant. First of all, his going to the sky, to the heaven, is ruled out by this promise. Absolutely, no question left. Because all the Christians and all the Jews unanimously believe that no lost sheep of the house of Israel ever ascended to heaven. What was he doing there? In search of the lost sheep of Israel, he should go, jumping into the seventh heaven and beyond. Unbelievable. So he must have gone in search of those. Let us find out who they were. When were they lost? Where they went? And start pursuing Jesus' path on the same path where they have left their footprints, these lost sheep of Israel. He must be following the same. So there is the evidence, the first important historical evidence, and the evidence presented by the New Testament itself. historical evidence from the Bible and from what followed is that Nebuchadnezzar took away as prisoners all the 10 tribes of Israel of the north, of the south. I think it was south or north. Palestine is in the north.
Yes.
It has to be southern.
Yes.
Anyway, out of 10 tribes, 10 made the empire Judea, and the 2 remained in Palestine. So they had their own separate state under the title Palestine. Leaving the Palestinians alone, all the remaining 10 tribes were expatriated or taken out of their own homeland and kept for some time in Babel, that is in the northern region of Iraq, and then dispersed. Some of them, went out themselves in search of whatever they, livelihood they could, and some escaped prison, some were tortured to death as well. So these people are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That happened around 6th or 7th century, 6th perhaps, before Jesus Christ. Then God showed mercy to them once again and sent their deliverer in the form of that great king of Persia, whose name was Horus, Emperor Horus of Persia. About 200 years after this incident, he invaded and conquered the Babylonians and freed all the prisoners which were kept by them anywhere, and then he went to Jerusalem, restored the demolished house of God, King Solomon's temple, and helped them in doing it. And that is why that is the only non-Israeli emperor who is remembered with such love in the Old Testament. In fact, there was a prophecy about him. Whether a prophecy or a mention afterwards, Allah knows best. But we do find the mention of Khusro, of this Horus, the king of Persia, in the Old Testament, where it is said that God tells them, I will speak to them myself. He will be a dear one of mine. He will come and restore the house of God, and he will do this and he will do that. He is a very pious man. I speak in him and from him and through him. Similar words are used in the Old Testament, and although he is not one of you, he belongs elsewhere. So that is what happened, and after that, the new Jerusalem came into being, and all the people started returning, but not all. All that were left there. In the previous 200 years, a majority from among them had already migrated to the eastern land, and this is a historic fact. No one can deny it. There is full consensus of all the historical scholars, this is exactly what happened. And they also went in the direction of Afghanistan and beyond to Kashmir. Right? If Jesus was true, and we believe him to be a true prophet of Allah, why should he have forgotten his own promise, his covenant with his own people, that he will go in search of the lost sheep of the house of Israel? Now, looking back at the same from the logical point of view, it should have happened, logical plus religious, because if a prophet is sent to a people as whole, comprising 12 tribes, if he delivers his message only to the 2 and disappears, then he has not fulfilled the purpose of his mission. So that was what was implied. It's a very wise, profound promise made by Jesus Christ, telling the people that my purpose, the purpose of my coming in Advent, will not be realized until I deliver the message to all the 12 tribes of Israel. So having done with you and having failed to create impression upon you, after you have mistreated me, then I'll migrate from here, like all other prophets. That was the message. In search of the lost sheep. So this is what we believe. He went in search of the lost sheep. Wherever they went, he should have gone. And now come to the historians and anthropologists. What do they say about the origin of Afghans and the origin of Kashmiris, etc.? Most of them which are found there today, the Muslim Kashmiris in particular, not the Dogras. The Dogras are the old race of the Kashmiris which occupied the area for so many years in history, so many thousands of years maybe, who are of Indian origin. Whether they come from other parts of the world, of India, or they remained there in occupation for some time, we don't know much. But we know that there are two distinct races occupying the valley of Kashmir. The majority of those who occupy the valley are of Israeli descent, because their features are still like Israelites. Their wearing, the habits of their life, their clothing, the way they dress themselves, everything is so reminiscent of the old Israelites that one scholar has written that if you want to see the old Israel come to life, go to the Lake Dal in the morning and see the Kashmiri women attired in exactly the same style as we read in history that Israelite women used to. And their bearing, their habits, the whole scene around the Lake Dal would remind you as if you had traveled back in time and reached the time when Moses ruled the Israelites. This is strange evidence from the mouth of a Christian, not from the mouth of a Muslim or an Ahmadi Muslim for that matter. So this is the second line of argument. And the third, again a historical evidence, is that Raja Shalbahan was a contemporary of Jesus Christ, who was not a Christian or a Muslim, of course, because he lived 600 some years before Islam came into being. His annals are recorded in Hindu books of history, and they are called Puranas. In one of the Puranas, it is still written that at that time, I mean, in the same age as Jesus Christ lived. It doesn't say that, but I'll come to that later. On this day, there are no two opinions. Raja Shalbahan was a contemporary of Jesus Christ. So what he saw, from that you can automatically infer this. He was once out on a hunting expedition in his own valley, Kashmir, when he suddenly perceived a few people who were foreigner, differently attired, and one of them, their leader in the midst of them, presented a very holy visage. He was very, dignified person walking in the midst. So the Raja was naturally intrigued, and he went to him and inquired from him, who are you, who you are, and inquired from him as to who he was, and what was his name, and what was his religion, and so on and so forth. So in answer to the questions, I don't remember the exact order, but I'm going to tell you exactly what is written there. Exactly, not in the words, but to the effect, I mean. It is said that he answered, his name was Mashihu. I remember Masihu and Mashihu, how close they are. He was a prophet of God who was persecuted and attempted to be killed, to put to death. But God he had promised, he saved him from that to death. And from then he left his own country and migrated to here. And in answer to the name of the religion, he said, it is love. Now, if you can make 2 and 2 together, you can make 2 and 2 and 2 together as well. It will count up to 6, won't it? So these 3 sets of arguments or fingers pointed exactly at the same person, Jesus Christ. This incident of a prophet having been attempted to be killed, and his disappearance afterwards, at that time, did not occur anywhere in the whole world. No history of any other people reports such a thing. You see, the total absence of such an event having taken place anywhere in the whole world is a definite proof that this is the area where we should search for the man who was the prophet, who was attempted to be killed, whose name was Masihu, whose religion was love, who migrated, and if not migrated, where he went, where he is. If somebody studies this evidence without prejudice, he should be left with no doubt whatsoever that it is there that Jesus has to be found. Then other evidence is being unearthed. You know, a scholar who was sent on a mission, I previously thought it was an Englishman who went on this mission, but later on when we inquired from Oxford University about the writer among the dervishes, you know, the impression received by the title of the book, etc., was wrong. And I want to rectify this now for the sake of records. All through previous years, I have always been referring to that author to be an English scholar sent by Oxford University for research into Herat, a province of Afghanistan. The purpose of research was to find out more about the dervishes. You see, they are becoming more and more interested in Sufism and this and that, and also in different cults. So they thought a scholar should go. That is how I have been stating. Now, we decided ultimately to contact the scholar himself, because I wanted to send new expeditions of research. And when we went in search, there was no such man here in Oxford. So only recently I put an Ahmadi lady who is very good at tracing people and things, books, etc. particularly. I asked her to kindly see into it and find the author of among the dervishes. So in search of lost Jesus, we had to search first the lost author. And there he was at last discovered. He was a German scholar, but the book was not originally published in English. It was in German language. It was translated into English and published by Oxford University Press. So that is why this confusion was caused. Well, I had read it long ago, so it was a vague memory, and by that memory, you know, I used to tell people about the contents of the book. Incidentally, his name and what he was also came up. I was wrong there, of course, but the substance which I have been speaking of is exactly true. This is exactly what is written in the book. So somebody could say, if you have vague memory, why do you mislead people? The vague memory is only about names and small things. which can be corrected, and this is why I'm correcting that. But the subject matter remains exactly the same. There is no change whatsoever. This author went in search of the dervishes in Islam in Afghanistan, and it was known that that area of Herat is abounding in dervishes and so on. So he discovered a strange tribe whose name was Musai, and this Musai tribe was a tribe of dervishes. And when he investigated about their ideas and philosophies, he was told that their true name is, their religion is Christian Muslims. He was amazed. What do you mean a Christian Muslim? Either Christian or Muslim? He said, no, this is all right. So he sought interview with their chief. And their chief, by the name of Abba Yahya, Abba, is a Jewish title, Abba, of religious leaders. His name was, or title was Abba, and name was Yahya. He gave him a full interview and told him, look here, I tell you one thing of which you had never heard behest before. You are wrong in believing in Trinity. You are wrong in believing that Jesus ever claimed to be a little son of God. When after the attempt to crucify him, he escaped with the help of God and left Palestine. On way to Kashmir, he stayed with us because we are also Israelites. And he delivered his message to us, and we accepted him. And he also left a scroll where Injil was written, or he had it rewritten there. This detail I don't remember. But he did possess a scroll in which the correct Injil, which was dictated by Jesus Christ and which was not a fake Injil which was interpreted later on, was found in the possession. And he invited the scholar to study it, and he said that there is no mention whatsoever of either Christian or Trinity or his being a little son of God. He was a simple, honest prophet of Allah like all other prophets. So then he inquired from him, why do you call yourself Christian Muslims? He said, simply for the reason that it was he who brought us to light from darkness. And the way he taught us prepared us for the acceptance of the final law-bearing prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. So in our gratitude to him, to express our gratitude to him, we still have this subtitle added to our religious title, Muslim Christians or Christian Muslims. And then it is also written in the book that he also informed in him that we call Jesus Christ as Jesus of Nazareth and Kashmir. So what do you mean? Of Nazareth, of course, but why of Kashmir? He said, because he was born in Nazareth and died in Kashmir. Now, this is a tribe of which the outside world had no knowledge whatsoever until this German scholar, research scholar, discovered this tribe and published the account of what passed between him and the tribe's members. How on earth an Ahmadi could have any influence on this? And this evidence is also historical, because these people have been preserving their history, by word of mouth. History is not always written, but also he has a written proof of a New Testament with him, written in the old style. So all these factors should be sufficient to prove that our theory is not just based on imagination and wishful thinkings. We have much more solid ground to stand upon, and the research is still continuous. We are doing more research, inshallah. Again, the grave of a prophet of Allah by the name of Yuz Asaf is found in Mahalla, that is a section Khanyar of Srinagar, Kashmir. Now this grave is traditionally highly respected and visited by people for gaining some blessing from it, from all around Kashmir. And the story which goes by it is that a great prophet of Allah is buried here, whose name was Yuz Asaf. Now Yuz As, if you read it like this, Yuz Us or Jesus, they're one and the same thing. But Yuz Asaf is also mentioned in Dead Sea Scrolls and other things in Palestine. So maybe they're two different persons, or maybe a title of Jesus Christ. But the time of Yuz Asaf's arrival is the same which tallies with the time of the arrival of Mashigu in Kashmir. So it could have been either a misunderstanding somewhere, or Yuz Asaf was only another title for Jesus Christ. But one thing is certain, that that man who was buried in that grave belonged to a Jewish people, a Jew or a Christian, but he did not belong to the local people. Why? Because the people in India never buried their dead. You know, they never built graves like the Muslim and the Christian and Jewish style. Now, another decisive proof that it was not the grave of a Muslim, misquoted later on to be the grave of an earlier saint or prophet, lies in the direction of the grave. It's a very interesting situation that the outside, brickwork and things which are made as a cover of the grave lies in the normal direction in which Muslims are buried. But there is a staircase leading down to the grave, and the grave itself is in the direction which is diametrically different from that of the Christian and Jewish style. You see, the Muslims always bury their dead with their face turned towards Kaaba, and they are diagonally laid in front of Kaaba. If Kaaba is here, the head would be on this side, the feet on the other, and the face will be slightly turned, so that the dead person's corpse always faces Kaaba. This is the Muslim style, and a universal style. There is no change whether the person who is dead is Shia or Sunni or whatever name you give him. This exactly is the universal style. But the person who is buried in that grave his head is towards Kaaba and feet in the opposite direction. That is, his head is facing west and feet facing east. From there, this is the direction. We always say prayer in the direction of west in Pakistan, India, etc., because Kaaba lies in general direction, not exactly west, dead west, but in the general direction of west. So his head is in the direction of the west, and the feet in the other direction, opposite direction. Why? If he were a Muslim and had come to Kashmir after Islam, then his grave should have been exactly like the graves of all other pioneer Muslims who arrived into India soon after Ahmad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. See? So raise any doubt, and that doubt will be dispelled by more powerful reasons. So that is just a taste of the historical evidence which you required is far more than that is written. Read the book, Hazrat Muslim's own book, Jesus in India, and you will be amazed at the historical data which he has collected and published in that book in a very convincing manner. Right? Are you from a Christian background?
No. I'm a Muslim, Ahmadi background.
So what made you think of this question? Your discussion with the Christians?
Yeah, because I had an argument with a Christian who says that Jesus is still in heaven. I said, no, he's dead. Yeah, but I want to get some more facts.
Muhammad Sadiq.
You also sometimes ask him, where is God? Is he here or not? So if he says no, he's not here, he says, what sort of God you have? I don't want that God who is so far away from me. If he says here, that he said, why did Jesus ascend to heaven then? If he was here, where we are, he shouldn't have moved at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Muhammad Sadiq, I would want to ask you about destiny. Now, is destiny of a man going to be fulfilled, or is a man going to make his own destiny?
Both. Both are right. You are born in Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone.
Right? You can't change this destiny. Can you?
No.
You moved over to England and made your own destiny. Didn't you?
Yes.
While those who were left in Sierra Leone, they had no way to imitate you exactly as you have done. Most of them cannot do that. You make effort and you reach a higher status in life. You earn more wealth, have more education and so on. So it is not just the case of a predestined fate that you have been provided or you have been confined in. It is a combination of both. The factor of human effort combines with the fate which has given him certain circumstances, and both interacting together decides one life here on earth and his future. Right? Thank you.
My name is Thomas Ali.
What?
Thomas Ali.
Thomas Ali.
Yeah.
What does Thomas mean? What does Thomas mean?
Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah.
But I was wondering whether it is Shams Ali which you have mispronounced it. Thomas Ali.
Yes, please.
One part is Christian and the other is
No,
Muslim.
it's got nothing to do with Christianity.
No?
No. I come from a Muslim background.
Right.
And from childhood, my Muslim name, my middle name is Muslim, right?
Which is?
Shaka.
Shaka.
Yeah. I don't know whatever reason my dad had for giving me that name, Thomas.
Yes.
Yeah, he just
No, I
cherished
think it
that.
was the general practice of the Christian school.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
To change their name to some Christian name so that they grow with the impression that they belong to Christianity. And this had played havoc with the peace of that unfortunate country, or the continent, I should say, right?
Probably I will do something about that later. Hazul, my question is that, as you know, recently there has been this change in the political setup in Sierra Leone. We are in the transition of having a government now, or something like that.
What is the latest, by the way?
Pardon?
What is the latest news, by the way?
That there's
And how
going to
recent is that? Pan, you know?
Yes.
Yes. Ma'am.
They
Let
have
me be
made-
clear on what the events.
Okay.
Then I'll answer your question, please.
Okay.
They have made elections.
That I know, yes. I will
Yes,
mention
and
to you.
what is going to happen? They haven't been able to get 55%. So the next election, the second round, will be on the 15th.
On the second, on the 15th.
Yes, sir.
In which all the parties will participate, or the first few, 2, 3 were in the top. You see, the party which we do majority of votes, well, I think they won by 45. They got 45% of the votes cast. Is that right?
35, 22,
35
and 16.
was the second or the first?
The first one was 35.
I thought it was 45.
35.
So 35, 22,
and 16.
And there was a talk of their coalition government, and also a national government was also mentioned by the leading party. But the main problem which the Western countries face is that the votes cast were 50% of the total votes. So 35 of the 50% makes practically 17% or thereabout of the total, which they think does not entitle this party to represent the whole country. Now, this argument is fallacious, of course, because those who did not vote, among them would be those, if they had voted, they would also vote perhaps in the same proportion. It was not a party which boycotted the election, of which you can say with certainty that if they had voted, they would have voted against the elected representatives. They were a mixed, nondescript gathering, mass of people. They could not vote because of the fear of their life. So we can extend this argument that if those who could vote had given their mind to us, shown their mind, and which party they trust, that could be logically extended also to that 50% which have not voted. But they are still not happy about it. So a new election is to be held very soon.
Yes.
When?
15th.
And if
Second round.
second round,
Yes.
you know, at every round, if the army kills it's a few thousand people from here and there, how many rounds it would require
That is
for the voters to be reduced, to drop to zero level? The whole population cannot be wiped out, but the voters in the next round would be more careful and more concerned for their life. Very sad situation. But when is it, by the way? The allegations are made. I don't know that whether actually the army did what is alleged that it did, but one thing is certain, that the present head of the state did not like the election to take place during this period. He expressed his fears that if election took place, there would be large-scale rioting and bloodshed. Let's first establish peace, then we turn to the elections. But he kept true to his word, in the sense that when he called for the leaders of opinion from all the country to advise him, and when they unanimously advised him that whatever may happen, we must have election. So he kept true to his word, he had that election. Now the rest is all just allegations and surmises. Some people say, see, he was true. He was right in his assessment. And he was genuine. That is why he did not want the elections to be held. The others say the culprit is now caught. It has we are not in a position to judge either way. Allah knows best. But things are far from clear to the outside world. So let's hope this time, if the election is held, the foreign countries which are spending a lot of money,
About 11 million.
11 million,
US dollars, yes.
$11 million, they have already committed that much money. They would be interested in having some results. So maybe they take in the what?
March.
March.
Yes.
Acha, very close. Allah bless the country. I love this the country very much. Sierra Leone is one of those countries which welcomed Ahmadiyyat outstandingly and continued to do so until recently. They led the whole of Africa in getting more converts to Ahmadiyya and Islam in one single year, and they did it for many years together. Unfortunately, these bad conditions and the ugly situation which developed has hampered the progress of preaching to a degree. But that is a compulsion of the people. Nothing can be done about it until peace is established. What I'm telling you is that Sierra Leone is the one country which was looked up to by all other African countries as a model of progress of Ahmadiyyat for many, many years. And this is the one country which was looked down upon with fears by the Christians. They say, if we fall over the edge of the precipice, it will be this country, because here Ahmadiyyat has become very strong and they are making the Christian churches pack up and leave the country. This is printed material from which I am quoting this. So that is why naturally I should have a very special regard for Sierra Leone, and that I have. Let's hope and join in prayer that Allah may change the things to better and we find peace again.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Please.
Well, just in the same vein as you've been going, what I would say is, what advice you think you can give, with the kind of situation in the country at the moment?
I have already given the advice.
Yeah.
In answer to all these questions, partly here, partly there, I gave the advice. It is highly essential for you to return to your moral entities, not to your tribal entity, because one is pitched against the other. Unless a unity is somehow forged in Sierra Leone, things cannot improve. And for that, Ahmadiyyat is working very hard to bring them under the common platform of Ahmadiyya Islam. And wherever we are successful, the whole Sierra Leone is witness to it, that peace establishes there. When Ahmadiyyat goes, discipline comes, peace comes, education comes, health is improved, and so on and so forth. So the real answer lies in this. But you are not outsiders Sierra Leoneans who do not live in Sierra Leone. They are not doing anything to assist this process, because you should have sought other Sierra Leoneans living here, and you should have preached to them, so that when they return to their country, they go to their own respective tribes and start planting Ahmadiyyat wherever it is yet not planted. So it is highly essential to collect and muster all your forces wherever you are, in England, in Germany, in other Western countries. All Sierra Leone's Ahmadis should join hands and forces to convert at least the Sierra Leone's living in those countries. Right? Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
Mrs. Sharif, Fatima by the name. My question is
You know the meaning of Sharif?
No, sir.
Not yet? Oh.
No.
Come on, I'll turn to that later when I talk to your husband. Huh?
Okay. Well, my question is about cousins' marriage. Yeah. Well, there are people who are against cousin marriage, but even Muslims and doctors approve of this.
But why are they against?
Well, I don't know. I just want you to comment on that for me.
No. Comment you may freely, but if you don't know, then it's a different question altogether. The fact is that we in India and Pakistan and all in the whole of Arab world and Indonesia and Malaysia, etc., we have been having free marriages and marriages which are promoted by the society within the families, cousins, etc., etc., and we don't find any fault, any problem with that. In fact, by doing that, we resolve many problems. In Islam, there is segregation of sexes so that the human society is kept under discipline, and no free license is given to any man to, look at women of which he has no license from God, So this promiscuous society is strongly suppressed and condemned by Islam, because otherwise it leads to all the problems like you are suffering nowadays. Now, in such a society, it is difficult to find matching people outside the family in areas where you do not know. And if you do not have any datings, if you have no occasion to meet and judge each other, how would you be able to find the right match? And even if you are permitted to date, you will not find the right match. You are likely to be led into the wrong match, like it happens here. So anyway, that is not a solution, but a difficulty, of course, for Muslim parents to find suitable matches for their daughters at least. Now this is answered to a large degree when families grow to a larger family group, like Kahlons are in Sierra Leone. And they intermix with each other, and they know each other. When there is no outside, pursuit of cheap pleasure, then one always turns back to the family for peace. If the pull from the outside is greater, then the families are broken. But in Islam, it is the whole Islamic teaching, social concept, which helps this and which interrelates one issue with the other. So in Islamic system of society, families are not only protected, but they keep on enlarging. And social gatherings are within the family circles and not outside. So as a result, right from the childhood, the boys and the girls know each other even before they come to maturity. And there is a natural affinity, a law of natural affinity which works. And many a time you notice that the boys and girls who are that high only, they already are attracted towards the other member of the sex, and not on the basis of sexual differences, but just on the basis of natural affinity. And matchmakings are done much before the time of their maturity. This is misunderstood by the Western people, and they think that we marry people, girls and boys, much before they're coming to puberty. It's false. What we do is that we know that they naturally fall together, so let them secure each other. And the actual marriage takes place much later. So among the family units, the marriages have found to be extremely successful, and there is less percentage of broken homes and families in Islam in where this system works than anywhere else in the world. Mr. Sharif.
Yeah, Dawda Sharif.
Dawda Sharif. What is the name? What is the meaning of Sharif? Huh?
Well, really, I just happened to have it from my father.
That's all. Never bother to find out what you mean.
Well, I have various meaning given to me about it. Here, some Christians, when I say I'm sheriff, they say if I'm a cowboy chief. I say no, I say that's not the meaning. I say I'm told in Islam, sheriff is somebody who is pious.
Noble.
Noble.
Right, yes.
I say that's the meaning in Islam.
Yes, that's right.
It's not the meaning you are attaching to it.
No, he's also partly right.
Yeah.
Because the word Sharif means a man with dignity, with nobility. And because the chiefs in the olden times were elected because of their dignity and nobility, so they were also called Shurafa in plural. They are the very cream of the society. So all these meanings are right. MashaAllah. Huh?
Thank you.
And why did you keep it as a secret from your wife? All these married years you never shared the meaning of your own word.
She has never asked me, and I've never thought of really.
That's what I'm pointing out.
Because the point is, back home we have names, we don't really, try to find out what these names mean.
If you had told her the true meaning of your name, she could have looked at you with more pride than she's looking at you now.
Okay.
Now, you know?
Yeah.
That's obvious that you are a very happily married couple. But if you had told her, I'm a noble man, you know, perhaps respect would be added to love.
Of course, I've not verbally told her, but I think she sees from my action in terms of prayer and so forth, that is sign of nobility.
Now, because the time is either over or about to be finished, do you have a question to ask?
I have a short question. It was in the news that genetic research has got a breakthrough whereby characteristics and shapes can now be developed, and according to them, this theory can now be applied to human development. Hence, the propagation of the idea of test tube babies. I want you to please comment.
You see, on test tube babies, I've spoken many a time before, and also on genetic engineering. So my previous videos and cassettes are available on that subject. Anybody can have them, and it will be over much repetition if I go into the detail of that.
Yes.
In principle, you should remember the test tube baby has nothing to do with the genetic changes in things. It's a different issue, where the human sperm is weak and it cannot reach the ovum of the mother to be the mother who is going to be the mother. Then they pick out a healthy sperm and introduce it with mechanical help to the ovum. And first of all, ovum is also taken and they are kept in a test tube, whereby they watch its development, and when the ovum fertilizes satisfactorily, then they remove it back and to the uterus and plant it there at the right place. This is test tube baby. It has nothing to do with genetic changes. The genetic changes are a science which is extremely controversial and dangerous. If you go for genetic changes, anything can happen and it can go out of your hand. So the Holy Quran refers this branch of science to have been inspired into man by Satan. And I have already spoken on that verse at some length, so there is no need to repeat it. If you want to find out, you can find out through Imam Sahib's help as to which cassette you should listen to, right?
Okay, thank you.
And with that, we come to the end of the time. And Allah bless you all. I'm very happy to have met you. And hope you'll, in future, you'll come in greater number and bring more friends from Sierra Leone. Many Sierra Leone's are lost to us because they are lost, drowned in the life, material life of London. So that's very unfortunate. You belong to the house of God. You should remain within the four walls of where you belong, and also bring back those who are like the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
MTA International, reaching the corners of the earth.